Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Again, everyone all together. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare This is one of the most special times we could ever be together. It's said that when they put Lord Krishna to rest, he sleeps for exactly 24 minutes. And then he gets up and climbs out of a window onto a tree, down the tree, and into the forest. And so, about this time, our Krishna is calling for jivas far and wide with his celebrated flute. And because it's so dark, our Srimati Radharani has to traverse so many difficulties just to get through the forest. She's left her home, dinner, family, prestige, family name, reputation, sometimes even without kajal on both eyes. She's decided, I'm going. And so because it is so dark, our job now is to sing as loudly as we can, in hopes that maybe we can let her know where the arena for dancing is. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All Shri Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. I know we all were really enjoying the kirtan, especially the sweetness of Achyuta Gopi's description. But at the same time, I could not have Maharaj wait too long. But we all were really getting into the groove. I could see that. I can definitely see we were all grooving with it. So thank you for enjoying the kirtan. And this morning, we will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, verse 49. And the chapter is entitled, The Pandavas Retired Timely. And we are very happy to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami with us. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and all glories to Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Vaishnavas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vidorapi Pratiyajya. Bhavesa Deham Atmanaham. Krishna Vesena Tachita. Pitribhi Swa. Jayam Yayo. Translation. Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Prabhas. Because he was absorbed in thought of Krishna, he was received by the denizens of the Pitriyaloka planet, where he returned to his original post. Purport. The difference between the Pandavas and the Vidura is that the Pandavas are eternal associates of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, where Vidura is one of the administrative demigods who is in charge of Pitriyaloka and is known as Yamaraj. Men are afraid of Yamaraj because it is he only who awards punishment to the miscreants of the material world. But those who are devotees of the Lord have nothing to fear from him. To the devotees, he is a cordial friend, but to the non-devotees, he is fear personified. As we have already discussed, it is understood that Yamaraj was cursed by Manduka Muni, be degraded as a Sudra, and therefore Vidura was an incarnation of Yamaraj. As an eternal servitor of the Lord, he displayed his devotional activities very ardently and lived the life of a pious man, so much so that a materialistic man like Dhritarashtra also got salvation by his instruction. So by his pious activities in the devotional service of the Lord, was able to always remember the lotus feet of the Lord. And thus he became washed of all contamination of a Sudra-born life. At the end, he was again received by the denizens of Pitraloka and posted in his original position. The demigods are also associates of the Lord without personal touch, whereas the direct associates of the Lord are in constant personal touch with him. The Lord and his personal associates incarnate in many universes without cessation. The Lord remembers them all, whereas the associates forget due to their being very minute parts and particles of the Lord. They are apt to forget such incidents due to being infinitesimal. This is corroborated in Bhagavad Gita 4.5. Om Vigyan Timirandasya Gena Jana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Bhakti Deve Vedavani Charim Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Vesatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Piba Sindhu Evicha Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're hearing a little bit about an incident in the life of Yamaraj. He apparently misjudged or misunderstood a situation, and he gave a punishment to this Mandaka Muni, which Mandaka Muni felt was unfair and not at all done understanding the situation. And therefore Yamaraj was cursed. He was cursed to be born as a Sudra. And so that's now what we know as Vidura, one of the actual younger brother of Dhritarashtra, who was a very prominent person during the intrigue of the Battle of Kurukshetra. In fact, it was Vidura that saved the life of the Pandavas when Duryodhana wanted to, well, he had many plans to destroy them, and one of the plans was to send them to a house. This house was made out of lac, and the idea was they would go there and live there, and then once they were lived there, the house would be set on fire, and lac burns immediately, and so they would have no chance to escape. But Vidura knew the intrigue of Duryodhana and warned the Pandavas, and therefore, although they accepted Duryodhana's invitation, they dug a tunnel underneath the ground, and then they escaped through the tunnel, and when the house was burned, they were already had gone. Now this is Vidura, and he always understood the position of the Pandavas and Krishna as being a great devotees, and therefore he protected them. But at the same time, he was always enthusiastic and in a very direct way to try to save his older brother Dhritarashtra. It was because of Vidura's constant and persistent preaching to Dhritarashtra that Dhritarashtra finally detached himself from his family situation, left everything along with his wife Gandhari, went to the forest, performed austerities and penances, purified themselves, and actually became liberated and left the body in that state. And this was Vidura. So this is Yamaraj come again. The Yamaraj we all know about, Yamaraj, as Prabhupada wants to point out clearly here, the miscreants and non-devotees, they fear him very strongly. we have the example of Ajamil. When Ajamil was at the very end of his life, he called out to his son, Narayan, in order to get free, in order to call his son to save him as he saw the Yamadutas coming. And when he called, of course, he called the name of the Lord Narayan in such a helpless and pure state, called a Namabas, not in pure Nam. And he was free from the reactions of getting all of his sinful activities manifested and being dragged to Yamaloka and then punished in different ways, as described in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We read that 5th canto, the very end of the 5th canto describes the 28 hells that are there, where the living entity who lives under the control of the material energy, in other words, those who don't take up devotional service, those who live for sense gratification and material prosperity, they are forced to see these agents of death at the time of their death, and they are dragged. It's described, these agents are very fierce looking. They're quite horrible looking. They carry various types of ropes and other devices to tie up the conditioned soul and drag his subtle body to Yamaraj after he leaves the body. So sometimes people think, well, this is a nice, cartoon or something like that. But these Yamadutas, who are agents of Yamaraj, are real individuals. And there was one devotee in our movement. This was back in the early days. His father was quite a, what you might say, a materialistic person. So much so that one of the things he loved to do was hunting animals. So at the end of his life, he was quite sick, suffering. And at one point, death arrived. And as death arrived, he called out in a very helpless and loud voice, "Bring my gun, bring my gun." He was seeing these horrible creatures coming to pull him away. And this was described by the man's wife, who was the mother of this devotee. And so at the time of death, he saw these personalities come. And there's many other incidences also too, where devotees have been around non-devotees in hospitals. And when time of death comes, they go through a very horrible experience, if they're conscious, that is. And then what they're seeing are these personalities. So Yamaraj has a very, what we say, difficult service where he has to punish the living entities. So although he got cursed to take birth as Vidura, he found it a great opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness and play the role of someone who was actually trying to help the conditioned souls in their sojourn by preaching Krishna consciousness. And he became the famous Vidura. And you can, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's beautiful discussions between Vidura and Maitreya on the principles of pure devotional service. So, but he is Yamaraj, and he is also one of the Mahajans, Mahajano Yena Katasapanta, that Yamaraj is one of the proponents of transcendental religious principles. There are 12 persons who are authorized to teach the path of pure devotional service. Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Prahlad, the 4 Kumaras, Bhishmadev, Janaka, Bali Maharaj, Yamaraj, and let's see, Swayambhuva Manu. That's 10. There's 12 altogether. And of these 12 personalities are authorized. So they teach the class of pure devotional service. The Yamaraj is also one. But his service to the Lord is to, somebody has to do this dirty service of punishing the conditioned souls. So he is designated as that. There's one story in the Mahabharata which describes how when the Pandavas were in the forest, and at one point they had no water, and they were really feeling the grip of thirst. So one by one, they went out to look for water. First it was Nakul, and Sahadev, and then Bhima, then Arjuna, and finally Yudhisthira. As one was not coming back, another was coming. So why were they not coming back? Each one had found a lake of beautiful, crystal clear water. And each person, as they came, when Nakul came, he saw the lake, but rather than going back to tell anybody, because he was so thirsty, he was attempting to drink. And then he heard a voice. The voice was from this very unembodied soul who was a yaksha. And he said, "This is my lake. You cannot drink that water. If you drink the water, you will die." And so each one of them, Nakula, Sahadev, Bhima, Arjuna, they all drank the water and they all died. Now Yudhisthira was the only one left, because of course Gandhari, Draupadi was also with them. So Yudhisthira went and he came to the lake and he saw the dead bodies of his 4 brothers lying around the lake. They each one had refused to submit to this yaksha's command of not drinking the water. The Yudhisthira came. And he came and he started about to drink the water. He said, and he heard that same voice, "This is my lake. Do not drink the water. If you drink, you will die, just like your brothers." Oh, Yudhisthira stopped, he restrained himself. He says, "Who are you?" He says, "I am Dharmaraj, and I have some questions for you. If you answer my questions, then I will grant you a boon, anything you want." And Yudhisthira restrained his desire to drink the water. He said, "What are your questions?" And then he asked him 50 questions, which is part of the Mahabharata. And Yudhisthira was so intelligent and so adept that he was able to answer all of the questions. 2 of the questions I can remember. One of them is, and the final question is the message of this particular pastime. One of the questions was, what's more numerous than the blades of grass in all of creation? And what is their answer? The thoughts in the minds of men. Finally, the last question came and he said, what is the most amazing thing in this world? And then Yamaraj and Yudhisthira answered. And he said, the most amazing thing in this world is everyone is seeing their friends, relatives, and people in general are dying, but they're thinking, not going to happen again. That is the most amazing thing. And we hear that statement quite often when we hear different classes. And so after speaking that, this Yaksha revealed himself. He said, I am your father, Dharmaraj, the Lord of Death. Therefore, you have pleased me so much. Therefore, I give you a benediction. You may get one of your brothers back. So please ask, any one of your brothers will come back to life by my power. Only one. So Yudhisthira was thinking. He said, please bring Nakul back to life. This Yaksha, who was Yamaraj, he said, Nakul, why have you chosen Nakul? Why haven't you chosen the greatest of all archers, Arjuna? You are about to engage in this big fight. And therefore, why didn't you choose Arjuna? And Yudhisthira, who is also known as Dharma personified, said, well, I am the son of Kunti, but Nakul is the son of Madri, both of the same father. Therefore, in order to please Madri, in order to allow one of Madri's sons to live, I have chosen Nakul. And when Dharmaraj heard that, he heard that, he said, you are truly the principle of religion. Therefore, because you have chosen in that way, I give you all of your brothers back to life again. And they all came back to life, and they didn't even realize they had died. And they looked around, and it was just like they had waken up from some sleep. So this is a story how Yamaraj performs many of his activities for the benefits of the conditioned soul. But he has a very, what we say, undesirable service. He has to punish the conditioned souls for their activity. And sometimes people don't understand that we're responsible. People think, well, yes, we are responsible, so therefore we take birth, and then we get another birth after that. We leave the world and we get reborn, and we have to take another birth. But for those who are sinful, they have to see Yamaraj, and it's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the very end of the 5th canto, how horrible the living entity has to suffer according to the nature of their sinful activities. And this is not some imagination. Sometimes people think the scriptures are eulogies, some hyperboles, exaggerations. They actually are factual accounts of what is about to happen to the conditioned souls if they do not become at least pious and ultimately Krishna conscious. So those who are sinful have to go to meet the Lord of Death. So here we're hearing a little bit about him. Now it explains how he departed his body, and now he is going back to his position as Yamaraj. He lives in a place called Pitriyaloka. That's his original position. It's one of the manifested planets, I believe, below the Earth. But it's a very luxurious planet. So it says here that the personal associates of the Lord, they live with the Lord in many universes. And the Lord remembers them all. But the associates, they forget this is due to our. So one of the constant characteristics, or we might say outstanding characteristic of the conditioned soul, and is quite prominent, is forgetfulness. We have a tendency to forget all the time, especially the most important thing, and that is our relationship with Krishna. which is eternal and never and always the most complete and satisfying relationship that one can attain to, because it is our natural constitutional position to serve the Lord with devotion. So here is a little incident to help remind the conditioned soul not to be subjected by forgetfulness. So you might say, well, it comes by its own accord. How can we overcome forgetfulness? By practicing Krishna consciousness, our minds become clear, and forgetfulness starts to fall in the background, even in ordinary activities. Well, not ordinary, but day-to-day devotional activities. The Lord will help the devotee always remember, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Savasya Hamridisani Visto, Matatsmita Jnanam Apohanam Cha. You want remembrance? I give it. You want forgetfulness? I forgive it. You want remembrance, forgetfulness, and if you want to, what's the third one? We got the third one.
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Yeah, if you want knowledge, I also give you that. So everything comes from Krishna. So if we engage in devotional service, Krishna helps us to remember what we need to remember, and at the same time, he reminds us to remember himself. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we have to remember Krishna. It's not that we have to be put into a difficult situation in order to remember Krishna. These difficult situations in life that we experience are ways that Krishna allows. I didn't say he does it, but he allows it to happen. So it's an impetus for us to remember Krishna. And that is the perfection. As the scriptures say, there are only 2 injunctions. Although there are 64 injunctions that are mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion, 2 become the principle by which all of the other 62 become automatically attained to. In other words, if one practices the first 2, all of the other 62 come automatically. And what is that? One should always, satatam, remember Krishna, and one should never forget Krishna. So these 2 things are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as the essence of the practice of Krishna consciousness. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And forgetfulness of Krishna, as it says in the Padma Purana, it talks about what is the forgetfulness of Krishna, what is the nature of that forgetfulness. It says that at first it poses the question. The verse says, what is the greatest anomaly? What is the greatest misfortune? What is the greatest mistake? And then it answers the question in the same verse, to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even for one moment. So this is, if we can practice our Krishna consciousness in such a way as that we remember Krishna always, we will always be in the best position to receive the mercy of the Lord, and ultimately, and we'll be completely free from all the miseries of material existence. That is the benefit of remembering Krishna always. And Krishna is so nice, as we were hearing just as the introduction to this class was being narrated, how just hearing about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and the intricacies of how he displays his pastimes, devotees become attracted to Krishna. He goes to bed at night, sleeps for 24 hours, wakes, 24 minutes. We sleep for 24 hours. He sleeps for 24 minutes. he gets up and he sneaks out the window, and Radharani is aware that Krishna is waiting for her. She performs her little drama of getting away from her mother-in-law, Kutila, Jatila, mother-in-law, sister-in-law. And then they meet together. And that is the perfection of all activities to bring Radha and Krishna together. So one who hears about these pastimes of how Radha and Krishna are being arranged in such a way that as they meet each other, this is the highest expression of loving devotion. Devotees find great happiness in hearing how Krishna and Radharani come together. Not only do they become happy, but they become satisfied knowing that Krishna and Radharani are experiencing the highest happiness that they can experience by being together. And that is the perfection of Krishna consciousness, to celebrate Krishna and Radharani coming together. There's no greater celebration. And that is done when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much, Mark, for such a wonderful class. I really like how you concluded the point of never forgetting Krishna, because in this crazy material world, there are always reasons that will make us forget the Lord and think that we are the controls, and then we go crazy. So thank you so much, Mark, for concluding that amazing point. Yes, Ileana, go ahead. I think I got your name right, although your name is not on the screen. But go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I have 3 questions. Can you explain the difference between Visura and Yamaraj? And does only the Lord and his direct associates with a personal contact continuously incarnate in many universes?
Anasuya, can you bring up the screen with all the devotees on there?
Oh, yes, Marge. Manoharini, can you stop the share screen?
Okay, there you go. The first question is the difference between Vidura and Yamaraj is no difference.
Okay.
Yamaraj incarnated or was forced to take birth as Vidura, same personality. And the second question is, can you repeat?
Okay. Does only the Lord and his direct associate with a personal contact with the Lord continuously incarnate in many universes?
Yeah. That's explained that as Krishna performs his pastimes in one universe, and when he winds them up, he brings his pastimes to another universe. The pastimes are essentially the same, but details are different. So as he goes from one universe to another, he displays his battle of Kurukshetra is there. Krishna's appearance in the world is there. All of these things that we hear in the Bhagavatam are there, but the details of those particular pastimes are slightly changed from universe to universe.
Okay. And the three question, Yamaraj at the moment of the death sends his servant, the Yamadutas. It's true, no? But there are cases in which he intervenes directly.
We don't know too many intervenes directly, but he does do that in certain cases. But I can't think of any particular where he intervenes and takes over. He lets his devotees, his followers, do the work, and then he gives out the punishment. He is like a judge.
Okay. And who are the Yamadutas?
You don't want to know. There's pictures of them in the canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. They are personalities who have the service of bringing the conditioned souls to Yamaraj. They are very fierce looking. They carry with them ropes, tie up the conditioned soul and drag them to Yamaraj. You don't want them at the time of death. There's only for those who are sinful.
Okay.
That's why when people die, sometimes they scream or they go through frightful experiences because they're seeing the Yamadutas at that time.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, but they don't touch the devotees because Yamaraj has warned them that for my devotees, you don't go. The devotees of Krishna, you stay away.
Thank you, Ileana. Nice question. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Raj Prabhu, go ahead.
Thank you. Maharaj, please can you explain what is the difference between always remember Krishna and never forget him?
Well, you have to remember not to forget, and you have to forget not to you have to forget not to remember. So in other words, remember those things, remember Krishna always and forget those things that are not of Krishna. So forgetfulness should be there towards anything outside of Krishna. And remembrance should be there for everything connected to Krishna. So sometimes we say you have to remember not to forget, and you have to forget not to remember.
Blows my mind, Maharaj.
You have to, in other words, remember Krishna and forget everything else. It's not like you remember Krishna and then you remember everything else too. No.
Everything that takes you away from Krishna. Because ultimately everything comes from Krishna, is connected to Krishna.
Basically, everything does take you away from Krishna, so that's why the statement is there.
Okay, Maharaj.
That's why we put pictures all over our walls. And then will help us remember Krishna. Sometimes we put verses. We paste them in different places in our room and in our house. Somehow remember Krishna.
I think I need pictures on the inside of my glasses.
Yeah, that you have some on the inside?
No, I think I need some.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's nothing to see out there. It's all what it is.
except for you, Maharaj.
No, I'm included in the forgetfulness pack.
Don't tell me that, Maharaj.
Well, that's a good idea. Maybe you should, all right, I have a nice service. Start manufacturing, become an optometrist, and then give people prescriptions on their glasses with Krishna's picture on the inside.
Mm. Do I have to do that, Maharaj?
That would be good. You do a great service. And you get paid for it too. They would probably give you extra money.
Prabhu, you can't disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
I guess I could try.
That's the third offense.
I'm not sure how many people would buy them. They say, "What's this? I can't see properly."
No, you're seeing properly now. Before you couldn't see.
Yes. They might punch me though, Maharaj.
All right. Well, anyway, at least follow yourself anyway. That's the important thing. Remembering Krishna is not hard. And someone, Prabhupada said, I can't even not remember Krishna. Prabhupada said there's never a time I wasn't thinking of Krishna. But that you might say, well, that's Srila Prabhupada. We can also practice them. We're seeing some of the devotees who don't put their pictures up. They have pictures like of Srimati Radharani. I'm seeing a picture of Krishna and Yasoda together. I'm seeing a picture of Krishna's lotus feet. I'm seeing a picture of Prabhupada. Just by looking at the screen here, I'm seeing pictures, nice pictures.
Raj Prabhu, your questions, I have to say, is so good because at the end, you bring humor into it and it's nice. And I appreciate that. Thank you. I really do. We need some Krishna conscious humor once in a while to make sure that we are awake. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, Mother Sri Devi, go ahead.
Thank you, Anastasia. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, this graphic description of the Yamadutas and how they take away, the souls that are inimical to devotional service has me thinking. You said those who are simply materialistic, engaged in only sense gratification and economic development are dragged to hell. So my question is, what happens to those souls who are not engaged in devotional service, but they are not sinful either? They are somewhat pious. They definitely know there is a higher power, but they are not clear about whom to worship. Either they worship demigods or they worship some, pitris or something. They do admit to a higher power, but they're not clear about whom to worship. What happens to them?
Well, it's interesting because that question is a very complex, there's an answer that's quite complex to that. First of all, as it says in the scriptures, and also quite often by the acharyas, that the sinful are dragged to Yamaraj, those who are sinful. Now, it's also understood that anyone who engages in material activities will automatically commit sin. Can't help it.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last word. This automatically
Commit sins automatically. Right. Yeah, even those who are pious, we have the example of King Nirga, very pious person. But he made a little mistake on his karma kanda, and because of that, he had to take birth as a lizard. So the material energy is so constituted that one cannot simply perform just pious activity. And therefore, the motive, who's actually situated in the pure goodness, or in the mode of goodness perfectly? Very few, because the way the world is, passion and ignorance are more prominent, and they're always taking goodness over. So, although a person is pious and they live a pious life, if they commit some sinful activities, they may have to go to Yamaraj for some small portion of that reaction. And so everything's in proportion, too. So therefore, Prabhupada used to say, pious and impious, it's also impious. Because it takes one away from the actual goal of life, is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are pious, religious to some degree, they may not have to experience so much suffering. We have the example of Manduka Muni in this particular pastime. It's interesting because it illustrates what was Manduka Muni, why did he curse Yamaraj? That story wasn't explained in the purport, but it mentions that when there were some thieves that were committing some theft, and they were running from the authorities, and they hid in the ashram of Manduka Muni. And when the police came, they arrested not only the thieves, but Manduka Muni also. And then there was a punishment. And Manduka Muni was sentenced to die by shul. I won't describe that particular form of death. It's quite horrible. Manduka Muni was thinking, what is this? I didn't do anything. And now I'm being sentenced to death and to be tortured to death. So he went to Yamaraj. He had the power. And he says, Yamaraj, why are you punishing me like this? And Yamaraj said, well, when you were a little boy, you took a piece of straw, and you pierced an ant with that straw, and the ant died. And Manduka Muni said, well, I was just a little child. That was an innocent act. And then Manduka Muni got angry and cursed. He said, you're not qualified to give judgment. Therefore, you should fall to the material world and take a birth as a Sudra. And he was powerful enough to do that. So here's an example of how even slight amounts of sinful activities done at any time during one's life, if one doesn't take the devotional service, that reaction comes in one form or another. So one has to understand that this material world is so constituted, it's very natural and easy to commit sinful activities. But unless one takes the devotional service, they have to suffer. And if they take the devotional service, by the power of devotional service, they can become freed from the reactions of their sinful activities. We have the example of Ajamil. That is the power of devotional service. It frees one for all the reactions of sinful activity. So it's easy to commit sinful activities. People do it all the time, even good people.
That was a powerful question, Sridevi.
Yeah, very, very clear and beautiful explanation. Now it's so understandable how urgent, how imperative it is to engage in devotional service. Even a little bit will save one, but not doing devotional service is extremely dangerous for the living in. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for asking that question, Sri Devi. Thank you. Yes, Parikshit, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'll ask the question, even though when you were answering the last question, you answered part of what I was going to ask about the people who are, well, let me just start with the question, because I know two people who are in that situation, two different situations. One of them is interested in Krishna consciousness now. And one thing that's happened to him is that his wife is not so interested in Krishna consciousness. The reason being that she said that she was raised in a religious family and she was religious statements were used to threaten her about hell and those things. So she got turned off when she got older. And now this is the guy's wife now. So she got turned off when she got older. And she's made her mind up that she's just going to be a good person. She's going to do pious acts. But she doesn't want to go to any religion and definitely does not want to come to Krishna consciousness because she sees that also as another organized religion. And the organized religions are, one way or the other, they're going to give you some threats. And so this guy is not getting much of any support from her. And so she's not that consistent in coming around. So my question is how to help this particular wife with her thoughts.
Well, she doesn't have to join any institution nor follow any principles. All she has to do is say, just chant the holy names of the Lord. That's all. You can do it anytime, any place. Requirement, rules, regulations. If she does that, then she's actually engaging in devotional service. But it seems there'll be no requirements placed upon her. Just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
She should chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is what you're saying.
Yeah, tell her this is a very nice sound vibration and relieves all of your stress and all of your anxiety. Just chant. These are names of God. That's it. You don't have to go to the temple. You don't have to do anything else. Just chant it.
Okay.
That'll get her started anyway. And once she starts chanting, then things will change. But, because she's averse to any kind of institution and all the rules that come with it, and, just chant. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Second question is not necessary because we've already answered it. Today with people who are thinking they're just going to be pious, but they don't follow any religion. They don't believe in God. So you already answered that part. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. My obeisances. I hope you're feeling better.
Getting better slowly. Slowly. Hare Krishna.
Good.
Yes, Raj Prabhu, go with the question. Please add some humor if you can, Prabhu. I'm just joking.
Thank you. Mother Sri Devi has got me thinking about something that I think about a lot. And as we're on the subject, what is the situation at the time of death if somebody is attempting to become a devotee, trying to engage in all of the activities that a devotee normally is engaged in, but is not yet initiated?
What is the question?
So say if someone is, I'm just talking about myself, let's now. Trying to engage in all the aspects of devotional service each and every day, trying to act in the manner, taking the lead of senior devotees, but just trying to be a devotee, but not initiated yet. So if I were to die today or tomorrow, would Yamaraj come and try and drag me away? Or the Yamadutas come and try and drag me away with their ropes?
No, you have the example of the Ajamil. He wasn't initiated. He wasn't practicing anything, but he chanted without offense the holy name of Lord Narayan. He was free from all of his sinful activities, and therefore when the Vishnu Dutas came, they defeated the Yamadutas in discussion, saying, this man is pious. He's free from your influence because he's chanted the name of the holy name of the Lord. So initiation is the third step on the 9-step process of bhakti. First 2 steps, you're still practicing. You're entering into the mood of bhakti. Only when you take the initiation, you get extra mercy to practice and relieve yourself of the unwanted things that block your progress. But before then, you're still making progress simply by chanting, by associating, reading the books. That is building. So you're not under the influence of Yamaraj's men.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Nobody wants that particular service anyway. But there are people who get it. So
Thank you, Marge, for such a wonderful class. And actually, I would like to ask devotees if there are any other questions, anything that's coming to your mind, anything that you need clarification on, please do unmute yourself. Yes, Srinivas Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, nice to see you again. Dandavad Pranams. Please accept my obeisances. Maharaj, you mentioned about Satatam Kirtayanto, right? For grahastas like us, we work from 9 to 5. When I get into the job, it's very difficult to think about anything else. Now I do, 16 rounds and those type of things, but out of this 9 to 5, now we have to go to the office, they are mandated it. But how do we improve our Krishna consciousness? Because it's very difficult to always think about Krishna, during the office time.
there was one devotee, his name was Ramaniya, and he gave a whole seminar. He spent 28 years in the workplace as a devotee. And he gave us a little insight on how he lived his life in the workplace, which was he was very intelligently organized his time, where he could do certain spiritual things even while he was in the workplace. There's a text that is written by him, which I have a copy of, and will send it to anybody who wants it, how to practice Krishna consciousness in the workplace. And you might see what you can use, you can glean certain things from it and apply it. But anything we can do to improve our remembrance of Krishna, we want to take advantage of that. That's why sometimes when devotees are put into difficult situations, they thank the Lord because it's a great opportunity for remembering the Lord.
Yes, thank you very much, Maharaj. If you could get the copy of the documentation, we'll definitely go through that and try to implement it. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
I'll send a copy to Anasuya, and then she can make anybody who wants to get a copy, they can contact her. Is that okay?
No problem, Marge. Yes, that's fine, completely fine. Yes. And I will share my email address in the chat so that those that don't have it, you can contact me and I will be happy to share with you the document. Okay. Yes, Raj Prabhu, go ahead.
No, we got Silpesh. Raj can sit back.
Oh,
for a while.
Silpesh, sorry, that's right. Silpesh Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I've got a question. If we have been judged by you and we've taken the punishment, whatever, maybe go to hellish planet or whatever, then does that mean that karma is nullified? Or does that karma still carry on in another birth?
Yeah, that punishment is the reactions of the karma, so it's being nullified. That's why sometimes devotees, when they're leaving the body, they don't want any kind of pain relievers or any kind of drugs. They want to go through that suffering to purify themselves from any residual reactions that may still be there. So yeah, suffering that burns up the reactions.
Then
And
why?
the suffering is also concomitant in relationship to the type of severity of the sin. I mean, if one has committed a murder, then the only way one can be free from the reactions of that is to sacrifice their own life. In the arena of punishment, like that. So yeah, every sin has its concomitant suffering amount. And of course, if you involve other people in the sinful activities you committed, then you're going to get a greater reaction for that sin.
So are all our sins not judged by Yamraj first, or are things just carried on into the next birth automatically?
Not for a devotee, but these are for the non-devotees.
Right. Yeah, it's complicated, all this karma and punishment. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, Krishna says in one place that the intricacies of karma are too difficult to explain, too complex to explain. Just like there's 4 kinds of karma. And this was given by one devotee who did research on the nature of karma. There's instant karma, there is mass karma, there is manifest karma, and there is one more. Let's see. I think it's situation karma, something like that. The name is a little different. So how do you know? Why do you take birth in a certain family with a certain set of circumstances? All of them. That means certain karma has built up to a certain thing and it manifests. That's called manifest karma. So situation karma builds up when you get certain amounts of situation karma, then you're preparing yourself for the type of birth that you will receive in the next life. This is all within the realm of the 3 modes of material nature, not for devotees.
Should we give breakfast to Raya?
Yeah, for him, yeah.
Yeah.
Feed him. Yeah, right away. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, don't try to figure out karma, you can't. But instant karma, you can figure it out. Instant karma is if you say something nasty to someone and they say something nasty back to you, that's instant karma. If you do something good for someone, someone might do something good for you right away. That's instant karma. Something, in other words, immediate reaction to the activity, that's called instant karma, whether it's auspicious or inauspicious.
I mean, sometimes we see karma coming back very quickly within a matter of months. You know, you see somebody's done something and they said you can see the result in a very short period of time. So is that still like instant karma?
Yeah, you're driving along the highway and you cut off somebody and while you're driving, and then while a few minutes later somebody cuts you off, and you start complaining about that guy, but you forgot you just cut somebody else in.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you for replying to my, really looking forward to.
I use that example as a personal example. I've seen that happen. When I acted wrongly, like driving, I see the same thing happening to me coming from the outside. It happened. Yeah, the laws of karma are so intricate and so nicely placed that no one can even see it's happening, but it's happening.
Thank you, Marge. It's quite helpful. I'm sure I'll have more questions in the future about karma.
Just chant Hare Krishna, all your karma will start to dissolve. If you chant, you're actually reducing the effects of your karma.
Yes.
Thank you, Silpesh Prabhu. Sridevi, I'm going to take Sukavaha Mataji's question, then I'll come back to you, okay? Go ahead, Sukavaha Prabhu.
It's Sukavaha.
Sukavaha. Thank you, Marge.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your lotus. Guru Maharaj, regarding the karma, so you say that when we suffer, the karma goes, but is it something our mental state affect that situation? So if we keep complaining about like we are suffering and suffering, will that karma may not go and we are doing another karmas, or still we can get rid of it? How does that work?
Yeah, like that. You're prolonging the effects of the reaction, that's all.
Okay.
When you complain about it. Prabhupada said, do not be disturbed by the instrument of your karma. If you think that someone is the cause of your suffering, then you get a reaction for that by blaming that person.
Okay.
Even though the person has been put in place by the laws of karma to give you your reaction. So they're just another person that's being as part of the whole chain. The reason is because of your own activity. But you're getting the results of your activity through an instrument. That's why Prabhupada said, do not become disturbed by the instrument of your karma. So an instrument is one that acts on behalf of something.
So how should we react? Like if we will get hurt, if suppose someone is doing something, how do we react to that? How do we should not react at all. We should just accept it.
We should try to understand why it's happening. What have I done? Why has Krishna put me in this situation? What have I done? How can I benefit from it? How can I get relief from the suffering? In other words, you ask Krishna, you pray to Krishna, you start to understand there is a reason why it's happening, although you may not be able to see the reason. But if you blame the person, then you're actually, there's a verse. I think we should pull that verse up. It's where's Anasuya? She's there. She went on vacation. Okay.
No, Marge. I'm cooking for the tea. I'm sorry, I was just cooking. The verse, Marge, and I'll have Manoharini pull it up.
Yes. First canto. Boy, this is a tough one to remember. 17th or 16th or 17th. I think let's try 1:16. 23.
Mano, try 116:23, Ma.
Yes, Maharaj.
I have a Bhagavatam in front of me. I'm going to look it up. I'll give you the exact reference in a minute. Yeah. No, it's the 17th chapter. 117. 117:22. I mean, Anasuya, read it.
Rajo vacha dharmam bravishi dharma gyan dharmo si vrisha rupadrik yata dharma kritastanam sucha kasyapatad bhavet. Translation: The king said, O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Srila Prabhupada's purport: a devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent. And thus it is his grace. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. That is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, they identify as equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore, he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, a devotee has no suffering at all because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali. Although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities, the extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the cults of religion.
I think that answers the question.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare
No
Krishna.
one is, if you blame the mischief monger, you become equally sinful.
Mm.
Very powerful question. An amazing purport. Wow.
It's one of those revolutionary type of statements where people need to hear more about it. If you read the same series of, if you go on with the next few verses, it becomes more and more clear what is the cause of suffering.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, Sri Devi, please go ahead.
We can bring back the
Yes, Maharaj.
here, yeah. Bring back the screen with the devotees. Okay, there you go.
Sri Devi. Oh, she was right
We have
there.
another.
Somehow Sri Devi disappeared. Okay. Yeah, somehow we lost connection with her. Anyone else? Yes, Raj Prabhu, go ahead.
Thank you. Marge, yesterday some of us were in the Zoom class and we were having a nice discussion. And there's a question that I wanted to ask you. Can you please explain the connection or the relationship between love and with compassion? Love and compassion.
What is the difference, or what is the relationship between love and compassion?
Yes, please.
Well, love also contains an element of compassion, but when there is no love, compassion on its own, more or less, is an element of love that goes down to those who are in need. You know, compassion is directed to those who are in need. So preaching is an element of compassion towards the conditioned soul. The love may not be there, but at least compassion is there, which is somewhat of an indication of an element of concern, which can also be understood as an increment of love.
Okay.
So one can love someone, and when one has love, compassion is included. When one has compassion, love will be included in small elements, maybe even full blown, depends on the person and persons involved.
Okay.
You know, just like the pure devotee, he loves all conditioned souls, and therefore he's preaching. Maybe some of us who are preaching, we may not have that same love, but we're still showing compassion through the element of preaching. But greater love is found in those who have that, who are full in their compassion towards the conditioned soul, or to anyone. You become compassionate towards your friends and your family members because there's some relationship there. That relationship's based on some elements of love to some degree. And so it's all in proportion to the relationship that is developed. So what is our relationship with the conditioned souls is that because of our relationship with Krishna, and Krishna wants to give his love to all the conditioned souls, we're acting on his love and acting and trying to give the conditioned souls Krishna consciousness. So that is, we're taking Krishna's love and trying to distribute it. So he's the one that's actually the full manifestation of compassion. But we're taking elements of that compassion and acting on his behalf. That's all. But we can also come up to more higher forms of compassion. Just like when people sacrifice, Prabhupada also said, he said, our movement will be successful in spreading Krishna consciousness around the world only when the devotees are willing to sacrifice their love, their life, or sacrifice their love, sacrifice their life for the benefits of the conditioned soul. He said, then our movement will be completely successful. They're willing to give their life to the conditioned soul, like then the movement will be spread in no time. So it's all in degree.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Nice question.
Amazing question. Sri Devi, you're back. I know you had a question and then it was blacked out. So please ask your question.
Thank you, Anastasia. Guru Maharaj, at one point you said that if one commits murder, then the only atonement is that one gives up on life. But every morning we sing this prayer to Tulsi Maharani, Yani Kani Chapa Pani Brahma Hatya Dikani Chatani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. And there it said that even circumambulating Tulsi, even the sin of killing a Brahmana is forgiven. So does that mean that the forgiveness is there for the sin, but one still has to pay for taking that life?
I don't think you got my point. It's so clear, the difference between the devotees and the non-devotees.
Oh, sorry.
That murder reaction is for the non-devotees, not for the devotees. Well, any kind of sin is there for concomited by the non-devotees. Devotees are practicing Krishna consciousness. I'll give you a statement by Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, you may have been a murderer in your last life, and now you come to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, you cut your fingers. You minimize the reactions of such severe sins by practicing Krishna consciousness. And when you're full in Krishna consciousness, there's no more reactions.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, very sorry. Yes, now it is clear to me.
If you live inside the jail, you follow the rules of the jail. If you live outside of the jail, you follow the rules of the state.
Thank you, Maharaj, and thank you for that clarification to Sri Devi. Anyone else? Yes, Raj Prabhu, you have your mic on. Do you have a question to ask, Prabhu?
That's spooky. I was only formulating a question in my head and you're just asking me. I wanted to. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, continue.
Okay. Sometimes I wonder if does everything that happen at every moment, is it
good?
Is there always a reason is there always a reason behind that? Whether it's good or bad or indifferent, does everything happen? Is that always Krishna's plan?
Not Krishna's plan, not necessarily. It gives you your independence. Krishna's plan is that he wants you to go back to Godhead. That's Krishna. Whatever else you do and it happens, that's your plan. Not his.
But when we do something, say we do something wrong, isn't there something that happens that's trying to teach us a lesson? Or if
Yeah.
we're thinking it wrong?
Yeah, the laws of material energy are like that. If you're inside the prison, you break one of the laws of the prison, you're going to get a reaction by the prisoners, by the prison authorities. As long as you're under the three modes of material nature, you're acting and reacting constantly. It's not Krishna. Krishna is not involved in that one. The only thing he does, he sets up the prison house.
Okay. But there's still a lesson to be learned.
Prabhupada answered that question. He said, Krishna wants you to go back to Godhead and develop love for him. Everything else that you do, it's not his will. It's your misuse of your independence. That's right.
Okay. So say you're like trying to engage in devotional service and you keep getting all sorts of interruptions, external interruptions. And
it means you're not serious.
Okay.
Because you're being interrupted, that means you're not serious. If you were serious, you wouldn't get interrupted.
Wow.
Sit there and chant your Gayatri. and you start thinking about something, people will come up and start talking to you. And you're thinking, why are they talking? Because you were thinking about something else. If you sit there and chant your Gayatri and you're absorbed in your Gayatri, you won't, nobody will say anything to you at any time. Same with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Because we're not serious or we're not attentive to what we're doing, we get interrupted.
Oh, that's really helpful. I always wondered why sometimes it goes so nicely and sometimes it was getting interrupted, but that's very powerful, Maharaj. Thank you.
Prabhupada said, Maya is as strong as you are weak. So for those who are strong, there's no Maya. So you have to fortify your desire in Krishna consciousness by sadhu sangha. There's where you get your strength from. Associating with devotees, serving devotees, chanting the holy names.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
We will.
Thank you so much, Raj Prabhu. This chapter, this purport has really stirred up an amazing bunch of questions. And I know it's definitely a awakening, rude awakening, as we say, that makes us check ourselves how focused we are in what we do. So thank you so much for all these wonderful questions. Marge, would you like to end with the round of chanting, or do you have something planned?
Well, yeah, they're knocking on my door to try to give me breakfast there. So.
Oh, Marge, we took so much of, oh my God, now 9:30. I keep forgetting that you're in America. I'm so sorry, Marge. You've passed your breakfast time. Oh, Krishna Chaitanya.
I don't mind. No, it's okay. This is nourishment being here, but I think we sufficiently turned in the ocean of questions. If we would just reflect on what we discussed, there'd be a lot more realizations.
Especially, Marge, the verse that you shared, 1:17:22. It's really powerful. That I think.
That one's a bomb. Most people don't even want to read.
Marge, I'm glad you said bomb, because I was going to say something, but yeah, it is a bomb, all right. Just drop right on the head.
Yeah, read that whole section and then continue with that from that verse onward.
And we are literally like 2 chapters away from that. We will be almost close to the ending 15, and then we'll go to 16 and then 17. Hare Krishna is going to be an intense discussion. And I'm sure Marge will come to the verse again.
That's powerful. All the whole series of verses that center around that same topic.
Amazing. Such wonderful questions. And we thank the devotees for joining us. I think we will let Maharaj have his breakfast. We don't want to get any karma by starving Maharaj not having his breakfast. Maharaj, thank you so much for your time and really giving us your time and answering all the questions. And thank you to all the devotees for, amazing, lots of questions. Vancha krapatibhyascha, kripasindubhyevacha, patitanam bhavanebhya, Vaishnavebhya namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki. His Holiness Candramauli Swami ki.
Jai.
Have a